Buxtehude's Praeludia and the Stylus Phantasticus, a presentation by Jack Tipper. The status of instrumental music experienced a considerable inflation during the 1600s. Before this dramatic shift, instruments were traditionally used to double voices or play improvised dances. For the first time, composers such as Johann Jacob Froberger, Arcangelo Corelli, and Heinrich Bieber were able to build a respectable European reputation for their instrumental works. As this new style emerged, composers were met by a particularly vexing challenge. How does one go about structuring an instrumental work when unable to rely on the libretto? In 1650, German Jesuit scholar Athanasius Kircher authored Musica Universalis, a groundbreaking and widely distributed work of musicology. In his book, Kircher provides an answer to the looming musical dilemma in the form of the Stylus Phantasticus. He explains this new concept as follows. The fantastic style is suitable for instruments. It is the most free and unrestrained method of composing. It is bound to nothing, neither to words nor to a melodic subject. It was instituted to display genius and to teach the hidden design of harmony and the ingenious composition of harmonic phrases and fugues. From a compositional standpoint, Kircher's vision of the Stylus Phantasticus is primarily contrapuntal, but rather than focusing on the pre-existing melodies, cantus firmus often used in vocal counterpoint, its heart is in the use of freely improvised themes. The concept of the Stylus Phantasticus broadened over the next century. In his influential book, Der Vollkommene Kapellmeister, German critic, theorist, and composer Johann Mattheson drastically expands upon Kircher's definition of the Stylus Phantasticus, to the point that he nearly contradicts Kircher's original meaning. Snyder writes, Kircher's Stylus Phantasticus demonstrates the skill of the composer, chiefly through contrapuntal artifice. Mattheson's Stylus Phantasticus demonstrates the improvisatory skill of the performer and rejects formal fugues. Mattheson upholds that the Stylus Phantasticus is a musical style firmly rooted in free improvisational composition, but he brings that art onto the stage rather than leaving it at the desk of the composer. This manner of composing takes its place principally in the orchestra and on the stage, not only for instruments but also for voices. It actually consists not as much in setting or composing with the pen as in a singing or playing that comes of free genius. Mattheson notes that printed pieces with titles like Fantasia, Capriccio, Toccata, and Ricercata all fall under this stylistic umbrella. He goes on to maintain that in this style, organists and performers are free to fantasize in their own right, without any musical restraint other than the confines of the harmony. In this manner of composing, one is bound only to the rules of harmony, and to no others. Whoever can bring forth the most artful decorations and the most unusual occurrences succeeds best. Dietrich Buxtehude was a Danish composer and organist who lived from around 1637 to 1707. He is best known today for his organ music, of which he is regarded as one of the most significant composers before J.S. Bach. His date of birth and even his nationality are often speculated by scholars, as little documentation exists to verify either. Although over 100 of his vocal pieces survive, and the majority of his oeuvre are made up of vocal music, Buxtehude is most revered by modern musicians for his keyboard works. Buxtehude was a prominent exponent of the Stylus Phantasticus. The keystone of his organ preludia lies in the contrast of improvisatory free sections with structured fugal sections. No two of these pieces are alike, nor are they like any that preceded them. He uses aspects of virtuosity and counterpoint, focuses on thematic variation, and makes room for experimentation on top of the formal structuring of his work. Under Mattheson's definition, these free sections capture the essence of the Stylus Phantasticus. In Der Vollkommene Kapellmeister, after detailing his understanding of the Stylus Phantasticus, Mattheson provides two brief examples. He identifies the first as the beginning of a toccata by Froberger, but it is now apparent that his example is actually taken from the first three measures of Buxtehude's Phrygian Praeludium. Snyder proposes that Mattheson may have transcribed some of Buxtehude's pieces during his visit to Lübeck in 1703 and failed to take down the composer's name. It is possible that he then mistook them for Froberger's work all those years later. Buxtehude's Phrygian Praeludium opens into a figural free section, followed by 2 fugues on varied subjects, before closing with a short free section. The entire Praeludium is void of jarring harmonies or demonstrations of virtuosity. On the whole, the 2 fugues do nothing to emancipate the flanking free sections. Their close juxtaposition actually draws the listener's attention away. Although Mattheson chose not to provide Buxtehude's Praeludium in F-sharp minor as one of his examples in Der Willkommen Kapellmeister, it is a fine representation of his notion of the Stylus Phantasticus. In this work, Buxtehude gives the reins to his fancy, to use Spitta's words, and shifts the balance between free and fugal writing strongly in favor of the free sections. The opening free section of the piece can be divided into 2 subsections based on character, one swift and one hesitant. The first of these 2 is structured around an opening flourish and a pedal tone, the energy fueled by gradually descending 16th note arpeggiations over 8th note chords. After a short departure, measures 5 through 7, Buxtehude lengthens most of the underlying chords to quarter notes and accompanies these with 16th note flutters reminiscent of modern-day syncopation. Sequential chords in the pedal tone form the core of the second subsection, all set to quarter notes, culminating in an ardent cadence before the beginning of the first fugue. Buxtehude closes his Praeludium with a sweeping final free section. Similarly to the second part of the opening, this section also hesitates as it grows with a chordal passage in the far-flung harmonic territory of G-sharp minor, measures 79 through 86. Subsequently, it explodes into a virtuosic number, exploring an interesting variation of an ostinato-style line on basso continuo in the form of a 2-measure pattern, once in F-sharp minor, measures 94 through 95, twice in C-sharp minor, measures 99 through 102, and 5 times in diminution in B minor, measures 114 through 118. Buxtehude's choice of F-sharp minor for this piece demonstrates another aspect of the freedom inherent in its fantastic style. Perhaps Buxtehude wanted this Praeludium to have the sharp F-sharp minor bite when played on a mean tone organ, despite the ubiquitous dissonances. The free sections of the Praeludium were indeed the perfect place for Buxtehude to experiment in such a pungent key as F-sharp minor, sometimes at the expense of a clean harmony. Even though Mattheson's definition of the Stylus Phantasticus cannot adequately interpret Buxtehude's Praeludia as complete pieces, it describes the free sections with such astute accuracy as to warrant analysis. Mattheson describes a composer who effortlessly explores his fancy, unbound by the key, the texture, or confines of the meter, in a state of total free expression, ready to perform. This composer is realized in Dietrich Buxtehude.